Yeah.
Yep. What's going on, everybody? What's going on, everybody? My name is Chris Allen. I'm one of your hosts. Along with my partner to the. Are you to the left of me or to the right of me? I don't even know.
Left.
Left. Down at the bottom is to the right. My man Maurice Murphy. What's going on, Doc?
What's going on, man? No, I'm excited about another great show, man. Really excited about this next show we got. The show we got coming up.
Yeah. We've done a couple reschedules, but it was good though. You know, she's really busy doing some amazing things here in Jacksonville. I'm so very excited for tonight's show. But before we get started, let's go ahead and pay a bill.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get our preferred partner up here.
Hi, I'm Linda Garcia with Mortgages by Linda. We have over 21 years of experience in the mortgage industry, and we work with 15 different wholesale lenders to get you the lowest interest rates. We provide excellent customer service and look forward to helping you with your mortgage. Click on the ad below to apply.
Absolutely. That's Mortgages by Linda. MortgagesByLinda.com.
There it is.
1-877 Team MBL. Yes. And also tonight's show is brought to you by TNT Transaction Coordinator, Miss Angie Lawson, who has graced our show tonight. She does from contract to close, does all the compliance, gets your contracts taken care of, helps schedule home inspections, make sure all parties are in the know of what's going on with that transaction. So, hey, happy to have you.
Glad to have our sponsors, our partners.
Absolutely.
It's growing. We're doing some amazing things on the show. The feedback has been absolutely amazing.
Yep.
So excited to be doing what we're doing. So
one plug. Hold on, give me one plug before we get into today's show.
Okay.
So tomorrow, make sure you come out. Why is home insurance so high right now? Just want to plug that. So we got that event tomorrow. And thank you to Angie Lawson from TNT, who's helping sponsor that event. So tomorrow, 11:30, at the Dreamfinders building on Phillips Highway, 11:30 to 1.
I love
Lunch
it.
will be served.
Lunch will be served. And we're going to talk about it again at the end of the show. And so,
absolutely. Well, hey, man, let's get to the show. Go ahead, Doc.
Let's get to it, baby. Let's get to it. Without further ado, listen, man. This young lady is absolutely crushing. You want to tell you, Maurice? She's crushing the game. She's a true real estate professional here in Jacksonville, Florida, with over a decade of exceptional experience in the real estate industry. She was named the Realtor of the Year. She's a graduate of the Florida Realtor Leadership Academy, and she's truly an industry standout. You hear what I'm telling you? Her secret to success is she feels that it's all about building connections and striving for daily improvement. Qualities that also shine in her role as a leader on the Megan Farrell team. But there's more to Megan than just a professional achievement. Her dedication to family, her personal journey of recovery, and her commitment to giving back to the community has truly set her apart from everybody else. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Miss Megan Farrell. There she is. Where's she at? We going on?
There we go.
Oh,
there we go.
There she goes.
Hi, guys.
How you doing?
Good. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Again and again.
We've
had a couple reschedules on this, but that's all right.
It is okay. That just lets us know that you're definitely out here doing your thing, crushing the game in the real estate industry. And so we're so very excited to have you on our show tonight.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Well, listen, I know we talked. We've talked multiple times. Just for everybody else, go ahead and give us an overview of who Megan is.
Who am I? Who am I? Right. Well, I like to say whenever I have opportunities like this, I like to just start by saying the least interesting thing about me is that I sell real estate, right? It's not going to be my stats or any of that stuff. It's who I am as a mom. I'm a wife. Like you said, the things that are important to me are just building relationships with people and being able to help. Before I got into real estate, I was a kindergarten teacher, which kind of was like a natural, seemed like a natural transition, but it was because I went from taking care of people's most prized possessions, which is their baby, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And to taking care of their biggest investment. And so, it was a pretty natural transition in knowing like how to hold people's hands through this and to walk them through that. And and just over the last 10 years, I moved to Florida, got my license right when I moved to Florida. I knew I didn't want to teach right away. And one of my friends was like, hey, you should try real estate. You like talking and people. I was like, okay. And, 10 years later, here I am. One of the things that I really pride myself in was getting involved at the association really early on and just taking it seriously and becoming a professional. And I know, Florida, there's a ton of agents down here. They joke that you come here and you get your driver's license and you go get your real estate license. And, just making sure that I took this seriously. It's not just like a pair of shoes we're selling, right? Like we're selling someone a home, memories, or helping them invest their money to build wealth. And so just really getting involved at the association level, state, local, and national really helped me grow that business, helped me grow my referral business. So now 10 years later, we lean heavily on our referrals from across the state of Florida, referrals from across the country, from our agent partners all over. Yeah. And then also just, word of mouth from our past customers. We don't pay for leads. We have never paid for leads. And that was something that early on I learned. Back when Zillow was like normal prices, like a couple $1,000s to get, a big chunk of it. I knew I didn't like it. And so I just started building relationships. I started giving back in my local community. And from there, I've just built a business, and my husband joined me 7 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And he popped in. I kind of got to that point where it was like, hey, I'm a little busy. Can you help? And then he was helping, and I'm like, you can't say that. And he's like, well, I'm not licensed. I'm like, maybe we should get you licensed. And so we both stay out of jail on this one. And so he got licensed, and now we run a team together. We run a branch office for our company with about 20 agents, and it's a lot of fun. It's just been a really great ride. Family is a priority to me, and that's what was important about becoming a teacher, was being able to be a mom. And although you don't fully have flexibility, people say they want to get into real estate for flexibility. It's not full flexibility, but when you do it with your spouse, you can kind of balance, Yeah.
So where are you originally from?
I'm from Pennsylvania.
Okay, Pennsylvania.
Yep, like Scranton, like The Office.
Okay. And then when you guys moved here, what was it about? Was it this you just no longer want to do the kindergarten thing any longer, or is it?
Yeah, so when I moved here, I moved in the middle of I moved on January 1st, so that's the middle of the school year. And I just knew that, like, when I was prepping to move to Florida, I knew I didn't want to pick up in the middle of, like, the school year with a different class. So I kind of prepared to, I guess, not work, and moved to Florida. And I was 26 at the time, so I was like, and I just turned 26, so like a young 26, like, I'm going to live in Florida at the beach. And I came from Pennsylvania, where I knew I wasn't going to stay there. The snow shoveling wasn't for me, and so I kind of just took the chance to really embrace like Florida life.
Got it.
And but it's only fun not working when like other people don't work with you, right? So it's like not super fun to just sit home by yourself, or like to go to the beach by yourself, or to do these things by yourself over and over again. And I also learned a little bit about who I am, and realized like what kind of person I am. And I'm a driven person. I like to have a purpose. And after, I would say, 2.5, 3 months of that, I got pretty depressed, to be honest. I was, like waking up later and later in the day, and I started to like look at my patterns, and I'm like, I'm not someone who wakes up at 11 in the afternoon or in the morning. I'm like an early morning girl, and so I was just kind of like trying to figure out what should I be doing. Should I be substitute teaching? I got a job at a gym. I started working at a restaurant, and a friend of mine was just like, hey, like, try real estate.
There you go.
And I Googled it, and in Northeast Florida, a big brand here is Watson Realty, and they had a school starting literally like the next week. And so I was like, well, that's kind of coincidental. And so I started doing that, and then I started my career at Watson, and I'm really grateful for that. They taught me a lot about the right things to do, and just running a business like a business. Because I will say that was the hard part, coming from kindergarten, when you got a paycheck every 2 weeks, that money was in my account. So I knew, even though I was making less money, I knew that like consistency was coming in. And so I had to learn how to build an actual business, build a brand. What does branding look like?
Right.
What's my value proposition, things like that. And I also had to learn about the industry, right? Like I came from teaching kids to like be kind to each other and to like always do the right thing, and to like, just that kind of a vibe. And then I came into real estate, and
Totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different, right? Like I was with someone today from that worked at Watson with me, and she's like, remember when I used to tell you to stop crying about the silly things? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I was like, I was new. I came from kindergarten world, but it's a whole different, like I don't think it's as cutthroat today as it was 10 years ago by any means. I think there's a whole lot more collaboration over competition, but man, those first like 2 years were pretty brutal with like just learning that, you have to kind of make your name for yourself. You have to take things seriously. You have to prove yourself before people kind of give you, credit for being in the industry.
That's good. Good. Mark, you got one?
Hey, yeah. So I want to ask, so I want to kind of go back a little bit. So you talked about you came to Jacksonville, you had a 2 or 3 month time period where, I mean, I guess you were just hanging out, I guess. I don't know what.
Literally just hanging out.
So walk me through, like, what was that shift in your mindset that says, hey, I got to do something, like, did something happen, or what really?
Nothing really happened. I mean, like I just like literally just started. So I'm a marathon runner, not now, post-child, but before I had my son, I ran marathons, I ran half marathons. So I would be up at like 5:30 was like nothing, right? So I was used to getting up early. I would, like, when I was a teacher, I would go run a 5K before school. So I was just always up early, always doing things like that. I played sports in college, so it just kind of like came through my life. And then I started to notice like I wasn't doing that stuff anymore. I was falling out of like, who is Megan? And I think that I also had expectations. Like I also thought, oh, it's going to be so great to not work and live at the beach, which, don't get me wrong, it was, right? But humans, like I think most humans need purpose, need something to help them like get up every day, something to like be that driving force in their life. And so for me, I realized like when I didn't have that, I was sleeping later, excuse me, and the depression was starting to kick in. And it was actually one day I woke up at 1:20 something in the afternoon, and I was like, all right, like, we need to get back on a new
Gotcha.
schedule, a new like focus, all of that. So
okay.
But I think that's like something to because like those things will happen too through your career in real estate. And I think like holding on to that, I guess, experience and like how that felt, because it didn't feel great, but throughout time, like now I know, like, okay, if I'm sleeping in, like if I'm sleeping until like 8:30, 9 o'clock now, I'm like, okay, like let's reevaluate that, what's going on with me before it hits that 1 o'clock point. So
got you. Now, since I'm kind of new to the game, so 10 years ago, give me a history lesson on what were some of these cutthroat activities that were being done back then.
Oh, I mean, just I just remember like people like yelling at me on the phone and me being like, I mean, you still every now and then you'll still get. I've been doing this for 30 years and as longer than you've been alive, and you know, I can remember like the one day just getting like yelled at by my first deal. I was on both sides. It was in 2013. It was when the government shut down in the fall of 2013. And it shut down for like 80 something days, I think. And I had a USDA loan, and USDA loans aren't super common around here anymore, but those are 100% financing. They're typically agricultural land, but they were still doing them where I was selling. And so I was getting it from I was getting it from the buyer. I was getting it from the seller. I had another deal I was working. The other agent was stressed out because, you know, FHA and VA are also government. So everyone was just high stress. And I was still in the mindset of like, let's work together and like those kind of things. And I also trusted a lot more than I do now. So I probably called and was like, hey, here's what my person is offering, but maybe they're willing to do more. So just like whatever, just come back, you know. Right. So I had to learn some skills around it too. And then like the nonsense behind your back, right? Like I still do a ton of that, which is hard. I mean, it's hard to have people who you think are your friends say things, or you know, we did talk about that this morning today too, just like how people can get, you know, you start to rise. And I rose quick. And I think there was a couple reasons. The reasons I rose quick is one, because I was coming from such a down point that for me, only way was up. I just got into action. Two, I answered my phone. I remember when I would get voicemails and I would call people back and they'd be like, oh my gosh, thank you for calling me back. And I'm like, well, you left me a message to call you back. Why wouldn't I call you back? You know, and I started to realize that really wasn't a pattern of agents in Florida, agents period, but in our area. And then two, like I worked it like a business. I got in, I worked full-time hours. I worked more than full-time hours. I didn't have children at the time. And so, you know, I was working at the office as late as I could. I would get in there early if I needed to. And so I rose very quickly with, like, I started in 2013. I was Realtor of the Year for my association in 2014. I was Rookie of the Year, my company, all those things. And with success, especially quick success, you know, people tend to have things to say, right? And there's a lot of projection that I think happens because it's a whole lot easier for me to look at someone else and say, oh, well, they must be doing X to get there. Because then otherwise I have to look at myself and say, well, maybe I'm not doing X. And that's why, you know, they're there and I'm not. So, you know, there was a lot of that at the beginning as well too. It's just sales, right? Like that's like the sales part of the sales, like not the fun part. But I would say now, you know, like it's led me to run, my husband and I, to run our office the way we do, which is like full support with everybody. We're all on the same team. Leadership definitely trickles down in that area. And it's something that I'm super, super proud of because the culture in our office space is just, it does not matter who is asking questions. It doesn't matter what the questions are asking. There's really no stupid questions. We always support each other. We're always like, oh yeah, I remember when I was there. And we lift each other up because we know rising tides raise all ships. And so I knew from the beginning, eventually we wanted to open a space that was full support. And then it's also allowed me to branch out of just our office and our company to host women's events. And I've hosted several women's events all over Northeast Florida. I've hosted 2-day retreats. I've hosted 1-day full events. I've hosted, you know, brunches and coffees and lunches. And they're all broker agnostic. And it's all just about coming together for supportive and positive community. And I've made a lot of really, really good friends that way who I know that I could pick up my phone today and call and say, I'm having the worst day ever. This happened to me. And they'd be like, oh yeah, I hear you. Or I could say, oh my gosh, this big win. I just had this huge win. And they're like cheering me on also because they get it and they're in the industry. And, you know, like there's just so much value in building those kind of relationships, and I don't think I would have done that had I not been met with that criticism, for lack of a better word, from the beginning. Yeah,
I love it. Well, listen, I know we talked a lot about, you know, your successes, your wins. Walk us through that first year. Walk us through that first year of real estate.
Okay. So I got started. I knew one person in Palm Coast, and his two best friends were realtors. So my sphere of influence was pretty much gone instantly, because they were really great, still great agents in our area. So I had to build it from the ground up. And like I said, I moved here January 1st, 2013, I moved here, and I had my license in May of 2013. Mm-hmm. So my first year looked a whole lot like figuring out, like, one, what did I do? What is this? I don't get paid, you know? And then it looked like investing in myself. It looked like I had to really bet on myself, and I had to surround myself with, as much as there are the naysayers and like those kind of people, you know, I had someone sitting in my office when I was trying to work floor time, and she told me, "You're going to flounder just like the rest of them."
Oh, wow.
Like, nice to meet you, you know? But you have that, right? Like, it doesn't matter where you could be at the grocery store, someone could say something like that. So I learned really early that I needed to, one, find my people and find the people who were positive and pouring back into me, and that I could pour into and that I could learn from and ask questions. So I aligned myself with a couple of mentors. One was my broker at the time. He was non-competing. And so I think that's the most important thing you can do your first years. Find yourself a mentor. Now there are a lot more teams. There weren't really teams back then in our area, but I would look into joining a team now. But yeah, definitely aligning myself with a mentor, finding people who lift you up, because days are hard, especially those first couple of years. And I literally just took it so seriously and was like, okay, if I need to learn this skill, I need to put time into learning this skill. So I sat on the floor in the top producer's office. I can remember just sitting on the floor with a notebook, listening to him on the phone and writing down notes. Like, what did he say? Okay, these are the words. You know, like learning how to speak real estate, I call it, because it's a whole different language, right? Mm-hmm. And sitting on the floor in his office doing that really helped. I just found people who were running businesses that I wanted to run them, and I would call them and ask them if I could take them out to coffee or take them out to lunch. And just, you know, sometimes you got told no, right? Because there's gatekeepers of things, but sometimes you got told yes. And some of those people are still my good friends. And we've never worked in a situation where either of us have made direct money off of each other. But I just think like that community building really helps. And I knocked on probably like, I don't know, 10,000 doors. I feel like door knocking was huge for me when I first got started. Like I said, I really wasn't into buying leads. So I did a ton of door knocking to get face-to-face with people, which did include getting the door closed in your face. But I still think door knocking is a great way to get face-to-face with people. I think that, sure, you're going to have people who don't like it. Absolutely. I think when you go, you need to offer value. That was one thing that I learned. I didn't feel comfortable going and saying like, "Hi, do you want to sell your house?" But if there was a listing in their neighborhood, I was bringing them all of the information on that, not just that listing, if it was mine, all the other homes that have sold in the last 6 months, you know, the whole market thing. And I was handing them value. I was constantly offering value, not taking up a ton of their time. But I found a lot of people respected it too. So, you know, like, although some people didn't want to answer the door, were annoyed, like the people who did, I had great conversations and they respected the hard work and the hustle of it. And then the other piece that is really important about my whole career that I almost forgot was social media. So I started, I was in college in 2004, and that's when Facebook got started. And the only way you could get Facebook was with a college email address. And so when Facebook started, I had a Facebook. And so it's funny, like I have memories today came up 16 years ago, and they're just like quotes about the silliest things because there were no pictures and stuff back then. But I learned how to use that tool from having it in my life. And then I lived so far away from my family. I would just update my family on what I was doing, right? So I'd be like, oh, going out door knocking to my family up north, like just to keep them in the loop of everything. And then once pictures and videos started, I'd be like, oh, check out my new listing. Not even trying to sell it because I didn't understand that, like, at the time, social media wasn't for sales. It was literally about connecting with people that you were on your friends list. And so, you know, as I shared my real estate stuff for my family so they could see what I was doing, like, hey, I'm surviving down here. I started to also build my network in Florida. And so I'm adding friends in Florida. I'm posting my listings. And then I would say probably in 2014, I started to notice like the crossover of it. Of like someone like, hey, I saw that you posted this house. Can I go see it? And I'm like, huh, yeah, sure you can. And then my wheels started turning and really understanding the power that I had in my hands with this free app, which was Facebook. I'm more on Facebook than any other platform, but also Instagram. And I really just started to utilize that to promote my listings. Yesterday I had one that was literally a Google map of my pinpoint in Florida, zoomed all the way out of the whole country. I screenshot it and I posted that. I'm like, I would never do that now, but it was an effective post because it was like, hey, I know I live here and you can live anywhere in all these states, but I can help you. Like, don't forget, I can help you.
Wow.
And so it when I have those memories pop up, it helps me to remember, like, it's not always about this like huge sales ad, right? Like, it's just about reminding the people that are in your network. Like, I call it a touch on the shoulder. Like, hey, I do real estate. Hey, I do real estate. And that's kind of why I like to say, like, the least interesting thing about me is that I sell real estate, because it's only my tap on the shoulder. The rest of my social media platform is connecting with those people. So that, yeah, tap on the shoulder, I do real estate, because like, I'd say it's probably 5% of your audience actually cares about the real estate market, right? Like, you might have, depending on who your followers are and things like that, you might have more agents or something like that, might be a little skewed, but you're generally looking at 95-5 or 90-10. And so you really want to keep that 95 or that 90% engaged with the rest of your life, right? So that they know you, they like you, they trust you. And then all of a sudden they're out somewhere and someone's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about selling my house. And they're like, Megan, you got to call Megan, right?
It's good.
Yeah. So
let me hop in here and ask you a question really quick. So you mentioned something about finding your tribe. What process did you go through to find your tribe? Because, excuse me, you mentioned earlier that back then it was real cutthroat and you had to watch who you were around. So how were you able to find your tribe then that could be really applied today?
That's good.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, getting involved in, I think we put a lot of emphasis on, like, your immediate people you're around has to be your, like, those have to be your friends, or they have to be your focus. And I think also we put a lot of like it has to be your friend group or things like that. But for me, I really built my network starting at a state level. So through Florida Realtors, when I got involved there, I would go to the conferences and things like that. And I founded our Young Professionals Network here in Flagler County, and from there, I just kind of found other young people in the industry. And so I think, like, any professional network that has an interest or that you have interest in. So, like, for me, when I was 26, you know, there's not a lot of 26-year-old real estate agents, and especially in Florida, since people tend to come here, retire, and then get into real estate. And so I really leaned on my professional organization for that. And then I like I said, I was a big runner back then. I also built my network through my running community. And so we had a really big running community here, and I would go on the runs with the whole group and just get to know people there. You just organically end up like running with different people and building relationships with different people. And now, like from this, which I would apply backwards if I could, like I literally, one of my girlfriends is like, all you do, I feel like, is like go out to coffee, go out to lunch. And I'm like, well, that's not all I do, but it's a big part of what I do because my entire focus is building relationships. So, if I connect with someone, like maybe it's at a training event and I'm like, man, we were really like jiving at this event. Like we should go get coffee sometime. I'm making sure I'm following up with that person and I'm getting to that coffee appointment. And it's not for any other, I had a mindset shift that it's not about like, I'm not trying to get your business. It's all about building a relationship. And so I think, and connecting with people and like, how do I serve you? What can I do for you? And because it's always, one of the things, I'm kind of getting a little off, but one of the things one of our coaches taught us is that it's called the business equity account. When you're like talking about getting business or doing business with people and like pretending they're an ATM, right? And if that's your goal is a business relationship, you don't just go to the ATM one day and try to take money out, right? You're going to go there and there's not going to be any money. The ATM is going to start beeping at you. It's going to be like, no, sorry, no money. Right. And then, or if you get some money, now you have, a negative account and you probably have overdraft charges and all this negative repercussions from trying to take before you give. And so, if you think about people like that too, and that doesn't even have to apply in business. That could just be building relationships. And I really try to keep that in the forefront of my mind when I'm talking with people and connecting with people is that, like, how do I give them value? How do I become a light in their life? How do I like, even if it's like helping them this much that I think it's only that much, really for them, it could be something bigger long-term. And, it's a whole lot easier to reach out and ask for, a referral or to help promote an event or to help be a part of something or to come to something once you have a relationship with someone and you've poured into them a little bit, just like anything, right? You go to the ATM after you've put 10 weeks of checks in and the ATM is more than happy to give you money, right? And so it kind of looking at relationship building like that.
That's good. You've been in the game for about 10 years now, a little over 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. So when in your real estate career did you get this new mindset shift where it was about relationship building as opposed to let me just do real estate? When did that happen for you?
I would say probably like 2016, 2017. Probably around the time one of the hurricanes hit. I get confused which one hit first, but I think it was Irma or Matthew. And one of them, it came to Florida. I was very, very, very bottom line driven. I did develop a chip on my shoulder after facing a lot of that backlash. And like, I was like, okay, people would talk about me posting on the internet. They would talk about me being young. They would talk about whatever they would talk about. And I developed a huge chip on my shoulder, especially my first year was 13,000, first full year was 65,000. And then I was making $100,000 in my second full year in the industry. And to me, coming from 30,000 as a teacher, I was living the life.
You hit it. Right.
I bought myself the white Lexus. I was like the realtor, meme, right?
Right.
And I wore my numbers like a badge of honor. And so one of the hurricanes hit, it caused some damage to our house right under the deductible. So I was like super bummed. This was after Brady had joined me too. And I was also when he got involved, I was like, this is the Megan Farrell team. Like, you will watch if you're going to be on my team. And I was not kind to my spouse. I couldn't separate.
That's good.
Yeah. So, and I learned these hard lessons.
Else, ain't it? The ego is fierce.
Yeah, I was. I was very protective of my name.
Right.
Because I learned early on, it's all you have in this business. However, I now learned that there can be kindness in these messages, but The hurricane hit, and I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh God, like, how am I going to sell a beach house? There was concern, of course, for humans, but I was like, how am I going to sell a beach house when the beach just had a hurricane? And I felt sorry for myself because of the damage, because of work, the typical woe is me moment. And I gave myself like one day. And the next day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out to the beach and see if anyone needs help. And stores where someone was outside with like FEMA sheets to sign up. And I was like, hi, I'm a local real estate agent. I want to help. Like, what can I do? She's like, oh my gosh, take this clipboard and go start walking up and down the streets and knocking on doors and asking people if they need help. And it was like in that moment where I started to walk and knock on doors, and I would go to people's houses. Like, one was like this 70-something-year-old woman who she's still someone who I keep in touch with.
Wow.
She had a shop vac and box fans in her living room trying to dry the carpet out to bring her 90-something-year-old mom home. And I was like, oh, honey, no, we have to get these carpets out. Like, this is all going to be molded out. And I think it was during that time I volunteered for 30 days straight with this group of just amazing business owners in our area. We all came together. Every morning we would wake up, like, I would literally roll over so tired and pick up my phone. It would be like a list of addresses we had to get to that day. And we all would get together, we'd get, coffee, and we'd start. And I think that moment, once it just became like, sales was gone, real estate was gone, because the immediate thing in front of us was like, people lost their houses, people lost, pets. Yeah, we fortunately didn't have a ton of people losing their lives here, but still, it's you're essentially losing your life with staying alive, right? And so we just really, Brady got involved with volunteering with me, and literally every day we were out there on the pavement just pulling things out of people's houses, helping them. And it wasn't until, after 30 days, moldy houses get pretty dangerous.
Wow.
And I started to get sick, and one of the doctors in town was like giving all the volunteers free checkups, and I went in to see him, and he was like, you're done. And I was like, okay, like, well, what can I do now? And he's like, go home and rest. And I went home and I gave myself a couple days of rest, and the phone just started ringing. And it was like, hey, I saw you helping people. I'm ready to move. Or, and it wasn't like directly correlated, but I also, like, I have a faith in a higher power. And I know when you do the right thing comes back. That's a fact. That is anybody who's done the right thing long enough knows that. Anyone who's done not the right thing long enough can see that too. And it was like, oh, okay. I just need to help people. It's not about a sale. It's not about, the money that's made from it. It's about helping people. And, when your heart is pure, it comes through. And so I would say, like, 3 or 4 years into it, really it clicked. And it made my life so much easier too when I was doing my lead gen, because when I made calls, it wasn't about getting a sale. So if someone said no, I was like, oh, they just don't want my help right now.
Right.
Like, the next call, and I still have that mindset to this day. So it's a whole lot less personal, and it's because sales is hard, and knocking on doors and making calls is hard, but it's a whole lot easier when you're like, hey, I'm just here to help you, and whatever I can do to help, and, moving on from there. So
I love it.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about, I know you have a young son. He's like 2 now. What's his name?
Oh, he's 4.5. He's
4.5.
Yeah. His name is Elijah. Yeah.
So tell us how, cause you were in real estate once you had your son, and what was that work-life balance like for you when you had your son?
It's a good one. So, yeah, I hold on. Let me just close this blind.
No, go ahead. Do you think?
It's coming dead solid in that spot. So I had him in 2019, and At the time, I had also been working at the association levels at the state and local, and I was president of my association in 2019, and I was also the chair for a state committee in 2019, which are both extremely time-consuming and big roles that need your energy and effort to be done well. And I didn't know, obviously, those are 3-year build-ups, so I didn't know I was going to be pregnant at the time. And again, the outside noise started with, well, do you think you're going to be able to do it? You know, don't you think you need to take a step back from things? And that chip that had been hiding, you know, came back up, and I was like, I can do it all. I'm going to do it all well. And I really had no idea what becoming a mom would look like. And so it was a really challenging time when I had my son, because I also, and at the time too, I also didn't know how to turn everything over to my husband. Not at any fault of his, of course. He's fantastic. He is experienced in the finance industry. He's experienced in running business, but it was a me thing. And so I felt like I had to prove myself as a mom. I had to prove myself as a leader. I had to prove myself as a business owner. So I was trying to be everything to everyone. And that doesn't work. And
Gotcha.
so I say, you know, I would say that was the beginning of my crashing. You know, I ran a productive team. I was also on like 13 other boards for charities. I was just kind of like, before I had my son, I had all the time to do these things, and my priorities shifted. And so for the first year of his life, the first 6 months, I was just spiraling and just like, you know, anything that stuck was what I was ending up doing, but I wasn't doing anything well, right? Like I was doing a lot of things, nothing great. And then 2020 obviously came, and that brought with it its own challenges, but it also showed me that I could pause and slow down. And so it allowed for me to be a mom. Like my son was in school as soon as he could get into a daycare. And I don't think I would choose that path today. But at the time, like it seemed like he had to go there. But then when my husband could only drop him off because I would be crying if I took him, because I would feel so guilty. And so my work-life balance was a mess. I wasn't sleeping. I had always not had the healthiest of relationships with alcohol, I guess I could say. I guess I'll take it to my running, right? Like I never ran 5Ks. I never paid to run a 5K. I only paid to run marathons. So like when I was on. And so, you know, but before 2020, I never drank at home. So it would just be like at conferences or if we went out for a night. So to me, it wasn't as problematic. Once COVID hit, we were home all the time. We started drinking more at home. People in general started drinking more at home. I started drinking more at home. And not that it was any crazy amount of drinking, but the frequency went up. And knowing now, if I knew then what I knew now, like alcohol was causing me to be more anxious. It was causing me to, you know, just have those like that anxiety the next day when you wake up and you're like, oh man, which neighbor did I see while I was out on my walk and drinking or like having drinks, or like, you know, what did I do? Or even if nothing bad happened, I was like going to those places in my head or like feeling like I wasn't enough. And it was just, I learned that the patterns that I had then, kind of like similar to my early on career, these patterns were helping me move forward. And I went to a wedding, and I decided I was not going to drink after that wedding. And then I went on a trip, and I drank on this trip, and some things happened that are what I call it is I was running at 100 miles an hour and I hit the wall.
Wow.
And so, you know, like I said, like my patterns with alcohol just weren't the healthiest. It wasn't, you know, I wasn't getting DUIs. I wasn't, you know, like it wasn't absolutely detrimental in my life. I hadn't lost business, but I could say all of that with a yet, right? So I think sometimes like people picture like someone sober, like, oh, they're under the bridge. It's like, no, like it's just regular people like you and me who end up turning to this coping mechanism.
Right.
And so once I realized it wasn't healthy for me and I wanted to heal from like past pain, and I wanted to like look at like, I was 33, 34. And I like looked back and I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff I probably could do some work around. I stopped drinking, and then 6 months into my drink, like when I quit drinking, like I was introduced to AA and I was like, oh, I'll go to that. And so I really, from there and from therapy, I really, kind of have shifted my entire life around. And it's something that I now call that weekend, like the best, worst weekend of my life, because it's caused a lot of pain. It still causes pain. However, sometimes you have to hit that rock bottom to like turn around, right? And so there's really nowhere else to go but up once you hit it. And I'm grateful that God, like I built a stronger relationship with God. I've always had God in my life, and now I just know that my life's happening for me and not to me. And a lot of things that I've learned through working a program and working with therapists, and like we were talking about before, a different community, right? Like, so now I have a whole different community of recovery. And the things we ask each other, like when we're in our shit, sorry for lack of a better word.
It's real talk.
It's real talk.
But like when we're in our stuff, like it's like, okay, well, like, did you pray about it? Like, have you thought about like what kind of what lesson you're supposed to learn through this? And so, I got a tattoo on my forearm. It says surrender. And it's just my daily, I got it very intentionally right on my left arm because I can see it all the time. And it just reminds me, like this life is a gift that I have every day. And, the heavy stuff, like just flow with it, right? Like this could be applied to life or real estate, but when you're going through those moments that seem challenging, if you could just take a second and get out of the water, get out of the rush of the river, and look at your life from the bridge above, and just see the rocks, right? If you see the rocks, they're there. If you see a stick or you see a person trying to go against the current, right? They're fighting, right? You're tired, you're exhausted, you're losing. The stick's just going down, right?
Yeah.
If you look at the rock is sturdy. The rock is there, and it's just letting the water flow around it. And like, I try to be like, okay, in this storm, I'm going to be the rock. I'm going to let the water wash over me. I'm going to like feel whatever feelings I need to feel. Right. Which I think is one thing that's difficult. That's why alcoholism in our industry is very high. Yeah. I think that it's hard that the industry lends itself to it, but just becoming that rock where you can, have the experience happen and then take the good from it, because eventually that river flow is going to slow down, right? It's not always going to be this storm. It's going to turn into just a flow. And that's good. And so I try to apply those kind of principles where I sit still. I ask, my higher power, like, what's the purpose of this? What's the lesson? And I do that for like the smallest things in my life now to like the big, huge moments. If I have a discrepancy with an agent on the other side, I can be very patient and calm through it. And, like that's one thing that's so funny. Our agents or other agents in the area will be like, you're so calm. You handle it so well. And I just die because like being called calm was never something that anyone would say. And sometimes it doesn't feel calm in my head. So I'm like, I'm glad on the outside, y'all are seeing this like calm Zen person. Yeah. But it's really helped me like getting into recovery, and then, not being afraid to talk about it has been a really big part of my healing process over the last, I'd say like 3 years. I just celebrated 3 years alcohol free.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
So let me ask something really quick, Chris, before you hop in here. Hey, so with you being the person that I'm hearing you say you are, with a chip on your shoulder, proving naysayers wrong, how challenging or how fitting or how helpful has it been for you to really put yourself out there to say, you know, I was at a moment of the deepest part of my life, and I really hit a brick wall. Like, how hard was that for you to do?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm glad you asked it, because like that, it's still hard some days, right? To like talk about this, and you know, I'm just getting comfortable. Like, this is probably the first time I've said that I've gone to a 12-step program and on a podcast, and it's you know, there's a lot of fear of judgment, right? And that's real, and the judgment is also real, and I've just had to learn that, you know what, for every time I share my story of healing and recovery, there might be, you know, out of 10 people, probably 6 of them relate in some way, whether it's a brother, sister, self, whoever has some kind of, you know, issue with drugs or alcohol. And then there's probably 2 or 3 people who are going to talk shit and say, oh my God, she's so cringy. Why does she share that? Ew, why does she share her life? I can't believe she shares so much of it. And for me, even if it was like the other way around, like 3 people would relate and 7 people saying negative things, those 3 people are worth way more than those 7 naysayers. Because I mean, even if I wasn't, I mean, I had people saying it before I hit the wall. Even that last year, no one knew what was going on with me. During COVID, I got Citizen of the Year for my city in 2020. And it was one of the hardest years of my life. And because I was very good at, I had a mask on. And I was very good at holding it all together on the outside. But inside, I was spiraling. And that's the other reason I was never calm, is because I was holding it all together. So if I had this house of cards here and you came and bumped me, I'd be like, what are you doing? You know, like I was a mess. And now, you know, now it's just, there's no secrets. I am who I am. And, you know, you're either my people or you're not. And I wish you well either way. And that's the other piece too, that I think that it's taught me, is that, you know what, we're all on this journey together. Sometimes people are there for long walks with you. Sometimes they're there just to pop in and pop out, and everyone is teaching lessons to each other on it. And so, you know, just to remember, you never ever know what the person on the other side of the conversation is going through. And so just to have that kindness with you, and to own your stuff, like saying I'm sorry. It's, oh my gosh, it's like the easiest. If you know, when things pop up, if somebody yesterday, they said, oh, you know, the dig you made. And I was like, the dig I made? And they told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I totally see your side of that and how you thought that was a dig, but I want to let you know that's not my intention. And I care about you, and I'm great. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, and definitely won't happen again. And the person was like, you know, there's somebody who's like in their healing journey too, and they're like, therapy taught me to bring that up. And I was like, well, therapy taught me how to own it. You know? So it's cool just to like be on the journey with people who you can, you know, have those conversations with too. And to be able to own it. Like, I mean, man, we're just all like, let's take a huge step back, right? Like, we're all on a floating rock going through space right now, right? And so nothing's that serious. And so it's just all about doing the best you can.
Love it.
Helping people make their day, even if you can shine your light just like this much to get their space a little bit brighter, and just sharing positivity with the world, because life is hard. It's not that, you know.
I want to ask you a question. You talk, I listened to your words, and your words are so eloquent, because you talk about purpose and the journey and embracing and these God-given talents and gifts. What is Megan's ultimate purpose for her life?
Wow. Well, I would say, so I don't know if you can see the shirt I have on, but I just grabbed it today. It says, as strong as the woman next to me.
Okay.
And I think that if I had to talk about purpose, I would say that it has to do with empowering women. And, you know, just like I said, I got into this early on and faced a lot of backlash as a 26-year-old. I'll get real talk now since we're at the end, but you know, like I have people saying stuff like she's sleeping with her customers and like
wow,
crazy things, you know, and just like digs that you make on women that like, you know, that's the only way she could be getting business. There's nothing like just, or whatever. She's stealing them this way or she's doing this. And, you know, from there to like, you know, I'm a survivor of sexual assault and I, you know, plan to do advocacy for that as I continue on my healing journey for that. And, you know, just, I think that my purpose is to shine a light and in recovery, you know, in our industry. I have a lot of opportunities by the grace of God to get on podcasts like this, to speak on stages. And I always make sure to talk about, you know, giving up alcohol because it was something that was detrimental to me. It doesn't have to be for everybody, but you know, everybody has a vice, right? And so if I could just shine my light and just help people not feel shame through those experiences that almost broke me, you know, like think that really is what my God-given purpose would be. I am in an industry where, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on with, you know, NAR right now and things like that. And there are different lawsuits and different, you know, just in a world too, where a lot of things are going on right now. And I think that, you know, there's an opportunity for me or people in situations like me to shine our light and to let people know, like it's, although it doesn't always feel safe to come forward or it doesn't always feel safe to talk about, it's okay to talk about the hard things because everybody has shit, right? Like every single person. While I was in healing, one of my healing experiences, it was a group session and, you know, our person said, okay, like the leader was like, write down your stuff, all the bad things in your life, write it down. I'm going to have you crumble it up in a ball and put it in the middle. And all right, mine's horrible, right? I write it all down, crumble up, throw it in. Everyone now go pick up a ball of paper. Okay, so go over, pick up a ball of paper. I open it up and I'm like, oh, I don't want that one. Okay, now everyone go pick up another one. Okay. Oh, I don't want that one. Bring it back up. And it's like, okay, how many of you would like to take your own ball of paper of shit back?
Oh, wow.
Every single person was like hand up to the sky, right? And so I think like that was a really big lesson that like everyone has shit and like if we could all just come together on some level to understand that we're all one doing the best we can with the tools that we believe we have provided for us, like it'll teach you grace on a whole nother level.
That's good.
And then just to know, like, my job isn't to to be the jury and the judge, right? Like my job is just to show up for people and do the best I can. And if someone's not serving me, it's okay to wish them well and detach with love, right? Like I've had to end a lot of relationships since I've gotten into recovery or they've transitioned into something different. And so, you know, at the beginning, I felt guilty about that. Like, oh gosh, I'm like not friends with this person, but they're not in alignment with who I am today. And so, you know, I think like keeping those relationships in check and really remembering like we are all walking on this journey. And sometimes it's forever, sometimes it's for 10 minutes, you know, and as long as we can shine our light on each other's paths, and if I can shine my light backwards to help someone come through the hard journey that I've already been through, I'm more than happy to use my pain to be able to help make someone's life better.
What's the goal for Megan next 5, 10, 20, 15 years? What's the plan?
Oh man, like big, scary, hairy goals. Yeah. So I think that, you know, my vision for the future looks like motivational speaking. I would love to be a keynote speaker. I've started to put some energy and resources into trainings on that level. I think that, I have a story that can help some people. And so I'd like to learn how to craft that skill a little bit better, in and out of the industry. I think real estate, I'll definitely always have my license. My husband, he is, like I said, he's 6 years in, so he's in the fun stage of it all, like where he's in such flow. He's got his systems. He loves it. I'm kind of a little burnt out on the sales side of it, if I'm being honest. So right now we're transitioning to some bigger projects, like working with builders and those kind of things. But I think it's moving more towards, speaking, writing books,
Coaching.
hosting, maybe coaching, hosting events, just figuring out a way that I can, I could shine my light for more people and
Love it.
yeah. So yeah.
Maurice, you got the last one?
No, I don't have anything else, man. I'm good. I mean, this was an amazing. I didn't think we were gonna get this deep.
Listen, all kind of notes.
I didn't think it was gonna get this deep. I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
Oh yeah. I should have warned you.
Yeah, no problem.
That's why we do the show live and we don't have scripts. Megan, tell them there was no scripts.
No, I texted today. I was like, hey, what do you like? Is there anything you want to cover? Like, I'm down for whatever, but anything you want, you were like, LOL, just be down for whatever.
Be down for whatever. Because, the show, based upon the energy and the direction that you go, I had no idea that we were going that direction because this show was much bigger than just real estate. It was about walking out and living out your purpose, and you found it. Real estate is just a small piece that fit into that puzzle, but your ultimate purpose is what allows your real estate business to even thrive in the way that it thrives. So kudos to you.
Absolutely.
Guys.
Absolutely. Before you go, Megan, let's pay some bills and we're gonna leave you the final thoughts here in a second.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm Linda Garcia with Mortgages by Linda. We have over 21 years of experience in the mortgage industry, and we work with 15 different wholesale lenders to get you the lowest interest rates. We provide excellent customer service and look forward to helping you with your mortgage. Click on the ad below to apply.
So that's Mortgages by Linda at mortgagebylinda.com, and to our show partner, Miss Angela G. Lawson.
Yeah.
So Angie Lawson is a transaction coordinator here in the Jacksonville area, and she is a licensed realtor at her company TNT. She will get you from contract to close. So look up Angie Lawson on all your social media platforms. So what we do, Megan, at the end of the show, we give the person the floor to give us their final thoughts, give us something inspirational and motivational to hang on to. And for those listeners that are out there listening right now,
the floor is
yours. I mean, I think that I kind of said it right at the end there. Just, in this industry, if you're in the real estate industry, it's a tough industry. And, it can be either one of the most, painful experiences, right? Or it can be one of the biggest blessings to your life. And it's always going to be what you make it. However hard you work, you can see that pay you back tenfold. But I would just say, remember who you are through it, and people are going to love you for who you are, and you're going to find your people that want to do business with you. So if you have tattoos and you show them off, people will come to you. If you like to get dressed up in a suit and tie every day, get dressed up in a suit and tie. You're going to find your people. Just maintain who you are and be true to yourself. And just remember to not take it so seriously, right? Like, take the business side seriously, take the contract seriously, know your shit and help your people, but don't take life so seriously that, you're waking up not feeling fulfilled every day and it's weighing you down. So, and anytime anybody, if you are reframing your relationship with alcohol or need any support around a major life change, I'm always here. I'm easy to get a hold of. Just DM me on any social media. Happy to, yeah, happy to help through that process. If anyone's out there looking for ways to get started with that, even if it's just, I want to drink less, you know, things like that. Happy to help.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, Megan, listen, you are truly the epitome of an agent, a woman that's driven by purpose. You know, nothing but success to you. And tell your husband, I forgot to say that little last part of the last name. I said Megan Farrell, but it's Megan Farrell-Nelson. So no disrespect to the husband. You know what I'm saying?
They call him Mr. Farrell sometimes, so at least you didn't do that.
I love it. I love it. So kudos to you, everything that you're doing in your business. If there's anything that we can do for you from Real Talk and Real Estate, please don't hesitate. Reach out to us, and we're 100% going to support you. We're there. Just let us know what you need.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Listen. So listen. You want me to do it out, Maurice?
Yeah, go ahead and get you the outro, man.
Listen, everybody. You want to do a last little shout out because of the event tomorrow?
Oh, yeah, we do. I'm sorry. One last shout out before we go. We have the Why is Homeowners Insurance Rates So High event tomorrow. That will be at Dreamfinders on Phillips Highway. It's gonna be from 11:30 to 1. Lunch will be served. Thank you to our sponsor, Ms. Angie Lawson. She's bringing the lunch, and also thank you to Golden Dog Title, who's actually giving us a space to use for tomorrow's event. Absolutely.
That sounds like a good one. I wouldn't miss it.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Absolutely.
So listen, everybody, every week, every Tuesday night from 6 to 7, we're gonna be right back here. Next week, we got another amazing. I think she's done. She's an investor, right, Maurice? She's an investor.
Yeah.
Doing some investment deals, and so we have an investor that's gonna be on the show next week. So it's gonna be a power pack every Tuesday night from 6 to 7. Real Talk, Real Estate, where we give you guys the true, pure, raw,
unadulterated,
no chaser, just giving you raw to show you how real estate agents are making an impact in our community and all across the state of Florida. So until next time, don't talk about it, be about it. We out. Peace.